Hey guys, it's Eric here, and we're going to talk about some corridor and intersections today. We have three roads that I've kind of have drafted up right now. Road A, Road B, and Road C is this little segment right here. Road A is 32 foot wide, and then it transitions into this curve and to be 26 foot wide. So this we're going to kind of just go over this intersections um, for three different alignments here. Road B right here is going to be 32 foot wide, and then this little segment of roadway right here is 26 foot wide. So yeah, we already have some profiles right here that I've already completed, and we're just going to use the intersection wizard. So this profile right here in road B will be essentially locked in to road A at a specific elevation, and this portion of the profile on road C is also going to get locked in into its respective position on road B's profile. So it's pretty neat. The intersection wizard is a little tricky to use, so I'm just going to kind of show you guys how to do this, and I'm going to try to work through this as fast as possible because you guys probably don't want to listen to me do AutoCAD for a while. But anyways, so here we have some assemblies that you guys can copy and paste from this tutorial DWG into whatever your project file is to use for your intersections. So basically, these primary roads I've tailored to be 32 foot wide, and then the secondary roads are 26 foot wide. So you can adjust them as needed in properties or whatever. You can just go to assembly properties and edit anything that might be specific for your own project. So these are very easy to change, but let's go ahead and dive right in. So first thing is definitely as far as like setting up your corridor. We're just gonna go ahead and make a corridor right here, and I'm just gonna call this design corridor. And I've just always found it easier to always have just everything in one single corridor. It just makes it go like a little like more seamless, and it's just a lot less congested as far as like trying to stay organized when you have like a million different corridors and trying to merge them all. It just gets complicated. So yeah, let's see. So yeah, I'm just gonna select road A for now. This can be changed later. It doesn't really matter, but for the corridor style, I'll go ahead and select LDI. All right, cool. So, all right, let's go ahead and put in our first intersection at road A and B. And so both of these intersecting roadways are going to be 32 foot wide roadways. So let's go ahead and create the intersection right here by selecting the two alignments. And it's just really important to stay organized. So we're just going to call this intersection A and B. Because when you're editing your corridor, it gets pretty messy, so it's just very important to keep everything kind of in order. Leave this as primary road maintained. Hit next. So all this stuff can get really very much confusing. So we're just going to select offset parameters just to show you guys kind of what's going on. So these offset values are basically the lane widths that's the wizard's going to be generating off of. But since road A and road B are both 32 foot wide at this specific area, we're going to leave this as is. I'm just going to go next, select surface daylight, and we're going to select none. And we're going to add to an existing corridor, the one that we just made. So we're going to leave curb return fillets as is, but this primary and the secondary for this specific intersection are both going to be 32. So these are the assemblies that you guys can copy and paste into your own drawings. So we're just going to do this for each respective one. I'm going to try to fly through this pretty fast. Let's get this out of the way. Okay, so secondary is also going to be 32 since both of these roadways are 32. Daylight left. And I basically just took the default assemblies that were made in this intersection wizard and just kind of tailored them to my own project, but you guys can just copy and paste them in your own project. So it's because I've already kind of added some sidewalks and curb and gutter and whatnot because the default ones don't do any of that. Alright, so we got all that settled, and we're already adding to that existing corridor, so now we're just going to create the intersection. So we get all this junk, all this text. There's probably a way to get this text off, but I just put it on a freeze layer. So we have road A we have the intersection for road A and B. Now let's go ahead and throw in the one for B and C. So this one's 26 foot wide, and this one's 32 foot wide. So we're just going to do the same thing, intersection, create intersection, click on the intersecting alignments, and just make sure that the alignments are just an exact copy of the road center line, like in the site drawings. So like I just use end copy from the XREF site, and just so you just know that they're for a fact on top of each other. It's just kind of a good practice to do. So we're just going to do intersection B and C. Leave that standard, I guess. And then primary road, maintain again. Next. So yeah, here's our intersecting alignments, and this is important when we're going to our offset parameters, because in this case our two intersecting roadways have different lane widths. So in this case we need to look at road C. So hit offset parameters, and so road C is technically the secondary road in this case. So we're going to go to the offset value, change this from 16 to 13, because it's not 32, it's 26. So this is an important step if you have two different sized roadways. You're going to hit OK, and you can actually come here if your radius isn't 25, and you can edit each specific quadrant in your intersection if your radius is not a standard 25, but in my case it is 25. So we're going to hit OK. We're going to hit next, and we're not going to create a new one. We're going to add to the design corridor that we made. Make sure that this is none. Then we're going to go to these assemblies to apply. So primary is going to go to 32, and secondary is going to be the 26. So we just got to edit that really quick to be just what we need it to be. So okay, left. This is fun. All right. Full section. Yep. If you guys have any questions on intersections, like this stuff can kind of be a little overwhelming at first, so be more than happy to answer any questions. Alright, create intersection. Alrighty, so now we have our two intersections in. So this is when we're going to add in, kind of fill in the regions in between with the full sections of our main portions of our road. So from here to here, and whatnot. So we're basically just going to kind of pick up where these, we're going to pick up from the station where these intersections left off on for each respective road, if that makes any sense. So let's go ahead and throw our corridor on a corridor layer, and Z generated corridor. You can just copy and paste this in your drawing if you don't already have it. And so our corridor is on a different layer. And now we're just going to kind of get rid of these labels because I don't want to delete them. There's probably a way to not have them show, but I just throw them on a freeze layer. But there's probably a better practice than this. So let's see what we got. All right, so I just made a corridor intersection freeze layer, or text freeze layer. All right, so now we're gonna go layer and isolate. So yeah, let's go ahead and add this little segment right here to our corridor. So you're gonna go to tool space, design corridor. You're gonna hit properties. So our object style is good. We're on LDI. So this is the awesome fun parameters tab. So this is like when naming's really important, because this can be really cluttered. So we're just gonna go on road B right here, and the intersection wizard kind of has all these quadrants that can be kind of confusing, but we're just gonna hit road B, and let's see here. So yeah, this is where the intersection wizard ended, which is at 66. So we're gonna add a region right after this. Let's go insert region after, and so for road B it's 32, so we're gonna make sure it's 32 foot road full section. Hit OK. And so this end station is like wanting to take the this section all the way through our intersection that we made for road B and C. We don't want that to happen because that'll really jack up the corridor. So let's make it some arbitrary station that we just know for a fact is before the intersection at B and C. So I'm just going to make it like, I guess 3, so I know it's just really short. And I'll show you guys why I'm doing this really fast. So go ahead and rebuild the corridor, hit OK. And so now we have this corridor that's that picks up right where this intersection left off. And we're just going to drag it all the way to this other intersection. And so it's super important to make sure that we're snaps, because nearest it can be really tricky. You got to make sure it's an endpoint, and which is an endpoint. So go ahead and click that, and there we go. So there's our corridor, looking good. So yeah. So notice how this intersection looks. It matches up with the line work very well that was laid out in the site. So let's go ahead and add this 26-foot, this 26-foot roadway segment. So hit Properties, back under Corridors on Tool Space. We're going to go find Road C, which is right here. And so the intersection wizard ended at this 26-foot road full section at station 70.81 or whatever. So we're just going to right-click, insert region after. And it's going to be 26 because that's how big or how wide the road is at road C. Hit apply, rebuild corridor, hit OK. All right, there we go. So yeah, like for the sake of this tutorial, I'm just going to bring this back a little bit because I don't really have contours to tie into, and it tries to generate it off. It tries to tie. It gets a little weird when you generate a surface past the alignment because I don't really have like an existing surface to kind of tie into or anything. But yeah, but these grades that are brought in, these were just kind of like bulk grading contours that like an LA did. So it's just kind of just for show. I didn't draw these in or anything. These are provided by LA. All right, so that's basically like pretty much the gist of it. However, I'm going to show you guys one more thing. So I mentioned how this little segment of road is 32, and then it kind of transitions from 32 to 26 right here. So I'm just going to insert a region after where this intersection left off to show you guys how you can have a segment of corridor transition from 32 to like a different size road. It's kind of a nice little thing to know. So we'll go to Properties, and we'll go to Road A full section, and I think this is where our the intersection wizard left off. So we're just going to right click, insert region after, and so you can do 26 or 32 because we're going to be using something called targets. So basically targets kind of lets you get away from your default settings that you made for these sections. So I'll show you what I mean. So we'll rebuild the corridor, hit OK. All right, so this thing picked up right where the intersection wizard left off, and but however, you can tell how this corridor, the line work just doesn't match up with the site layout. So to do this, we're going to do something called targets, and basically I'm taking these two edge of pavement polylines, and I'm going to use them as targets for my lane width. So basically it's going to bring this edge of pavement, which is the corridor edge of pavement, and it's just going to snap it to each respective polyline, and it's pretty useful. However, you don't targets can get pretty tricky, so you kind of want to avoid them at all costs, unless you kind of have to use them. But so in this case, this is the workaround I was able to do. So we're gonna go to Properties. We're gonna go to full section 77, or this part of Road A, which goes to the very end of to the very end of the alignment. We're gonna hit Target. We're going to hit width alignment. So in this case, it's for the lefts. So we're going to select from the drawing for a polyline. And so the way, like the perspective this goes from is from 0 to the end of the alignment. So from that perspective, this is technically the left part of the cross section. So we're going to click this guy, hit OK, boom, got that done. All right, so now we're going to do the width alignment for the right side. Select from drawing. Click this polyline, hit space, and we're going to hit OK, hit hit apply, rebuild the corridor, hit OK. Great, and look how this lines up now. So it's pretty sweet. We got our sidewalk, everything's right on top of each other. So we have different sizes. This is going from 32 and transitions slowly but surely into this 26-foot wide segment of the corridor. So that's just a nifty little tool that you can apply to any of your jobs. So so basically you just repeat the same process. So this is 32, so I'd add a region before where this intersection picked off, and do the same for this area. So let's take a look at our profiles and notice how this is the profile for road B, and this is the cross section, and look how this is locked in. Look how awesome that is. So you can, if you need to edit your profile, you just go to edit profile geometry, and you can move this around. You can play with this if you, at all, and it'll still be locked in, which is awesome. So this is the cross section of road A, and this is the profile for road C, which was for this intersection, and notice how it's also locked in at that position, because that's where the intersection is. So it's a super easy tool. Actually not super easy, but once you kind of wrap your head around it, it's definitely easier. So a couple more things. We're going to right click on design corridor again, and so for all of the curb return fillets, we're going to make the frequency 1. So just kind of change this to 1. I'll show you what this is going to do. Alright, so this is like the curb returns at all of our intersections that the wizard generated. Rebuild the corridor. Let's see here. So yeah, it just kind of makes them a little more precise, because when the wizard generates these curves, it can kind of get a little funky. So I kind of like just adding or decreasing the frequency for these turning radiuses. So we'll do the same for over here. Properties. Let's see, curb return fillets are right here. Change these all to 1. Alright, do the same for this, for the other one. We're almost done. I'm trying to go as fast as I can. Alright, hit apply, rebuild the corridor. Okay, alright. So there we go. We're looking good. So let's see, properties. So now we need to add a surface. So we're going to go to right here. So just made the surface for our corridor. I'm going to name this. I'm just going to name this design corridor. Change the surface style to civil, hit OK, and then we're going to add this top code, which you just hit this plus sign right here. We got that going. Alright, now just go to boundaries, right click, corridor extends as outer boundary, hit apply, rebuild the corridor, hit OK. And here are our wonderful contours that our corridor generated. And so something I really like to use is Object Viewer. It just kind of lets me know that CAD isn't doing anything too crazy on us. So to do this, I'm just going to right click on the design corridor that this is what we made for the surface. Select it, right click, and go to Object Viewer. And hopefully this generates to be pretty nice. So this thing's kind of not so fun to mess around with, but I do think it's helpful. So now just kind of click and drag a little bit, and here we go. So this is a kind of a way to make sure that AutoCAD didn't do anything too weird. And so we have these super smooth intersections with the sidewalk and our curb and gutter. So everything's looking good. It looks like we're in business to keep moving on with our project. Yep, this is the intersection at B and C. So this is that 26-foot wide, and this is the 32-foot wide segment of road. So looks like we're good. So yeah, that's pretty much it. If I went too fast, I was just trying to cut down the time of this video. I know you guys don't want to watch this for too long, but I hope this is helpful, and hopefully we can keep these AutoCAD tutorials going. So thanks, and let me know if you guys have any questions.